Good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us this afternoon. Just a few minutes, about 5 minutes past 3 p.m. here in Nairobi, East African time. The show is Diaspora Dispatches, where we get to bring you the latest news from across the continent. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and we start our bulletin this afternoon from Ethiopia and continuing fighting in Ethiopia's most populous region, OROMIA, between government forces and the rebel Oromo Liberation Army is raising concerns of worsening insecurity in the south. The authorities in OROMIA say they have launched a month-long offensive against OLA, but the rebel group says it is winning the battle. OLA spokesperson Oda Tarbi tweeted that security forces from neighboring Somali region have been deployed in Oromia to provide support in the fighting. But speaking to the BBC, Abdulkadir Rashid, a senior Somali regional official, dismissed the allegation but said forces from his region could enter Oromia if they were invited. There are fears that an escalation in fighting in the south could deepen the political and humanitarian crisis that the country is facing. In northern Ethiopia, a 17-month civil war has unleashed a massive humanitarian crisis in which thousands have been killed and millions left in need of aid. And then we go to Nigeria, where Nigerian Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has formally declared his intention to contest in next year's presidential election. He hopes to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari, whose tenure ends in May next year. Professor Osinbajo, a lawyer who was elected as Mr. Buhari's deputy in 2015, in a short video posted on social media, he promised continuity in improving security and prioritizing the economy, infrastructure, fighting poverty, and reforming the justice system. He also praised his boss as a true Nigerian patriot and a servant of the nation. He said the administration had done well for Nigerians on the security front, despite facing some of the most difficult times in the country's history. It sounds as though the Deputy President of Nigeria does not reside in Nigeria, because if he was present in Nigeria, then he would know the security in the country is very wanting, and the government's response to that has been lackluster, to say the least. And then we move on to Egypt. The Egyptian government has denied allegations made by the family of a 42-year-old economist and activist that he was forcibly disappeared in early February. The Interior Ministry said that Ayman Mahdud had been placed in a psychiatric unit for attempting to break into an apartment in capital Cairo. Deaths in custody. We go to South Africa, and several roads have been closed to the public around Pietersburg Court as the corruption trial of former South African President Jacob Zuma resumes today. Mr. Zuma faces multiple charges of fraud, racketeering and money laundering relating to 1990s arms deal with a French company. He says the charges are a witch hunt by political rivals. Last July, violent protests broke out in parts of South Africa, and Mr. Zuma was arrested in a separate case. Numerous legal challenges have caused long delays and postponements in this highly anticipated trial. On Monday, Mr. Zuma's lawyers will respond to the prosecution's affidavit, which seeks to introduce new evidence. He has also applied to have Supreme Court reconsider appeals rejected in March that sought the removal of the lead prosecutor, citing bias. And the number of people killed by gunmen in a series of raids in several villages in Nigeria's Central Plateau state has risen to more than 130. Gunmen on dozens of motorbikes attacked at least 4 remote villages in Kanam area on Sunday, shooting people dead, including children and young men. A traditional ruler in the area told the BBC that 135 villagers were among the dead. He said 16 members of a self-help vigilante group are also killed. Police and the local officials confirmed the deadly attack but did not specify the casualty figures. The attackers stole livestock, burned down dozens of homes. Hundreds of people have been displaced and some are missing after the attack. Residents are complaining that security forces took nearly 24 hours to arrive after the raid. They say this is the worst violence they've ever known in that area in a long time, and Nigeria is grappling with a wave of violence by armed gangs who frequently carry out killings and kidnappings for ransom, mostly in unprotected rural communities. And we head back to South Africa, and hundreds of Operation Dudula members have marched through the streets of Durban, demanding that the government take strong action to deal with human numbers of illegal immigrants. The protesters sang and chanted anti-immigrant slogans under the watchful eyes of the police. They then proceeded to Point Police Station, where they handed a memorandum with the demands. They called for government action to address the issue of undocumented immigrants alleged to be involved in various criminal activities. The rise in anti-immigrant sentiment once again in mostly low-income South African communities, also known as townships, has left immigrants and refugees fearing for their safety, but Dabula wonders why. And Operation Dudula is a splinter group from a faction in the Put South Africans First movement, an organization that first popularized and renewed anti-immigrant campaigns on social media before finding expression on the ground. The new movement is led by a 36-year-old Nakmala Lux Dlamini, born Dlamini Pabalo Muhlalui. And okay, so he was arrested sometimes back a couple of days ago, but he was released. And then we move on to Gambia. And Gambia's president and political party won a narrow victory in the legislative elections held on April 9th. Adama Barrow's National People's Party won 19 out of the 53 parliamentary seats up for grabs, according to the country's Independent Electoral Commission. This means, though the NPP has overturned the majority held by his main opponent, the United Democratic Party, they will have to seek for a coalition to govern the 58-seat chamber. The president will have to appoint 5 additional lawmakers, and the Jammeh regime is expected. The new parliament is due to be sworn in on April 14th. We head over to Guinea, and the post-Guinean President Alpha Conde returned to Conakry on Friday afternoon after medical treatment in the United Arab Emirates, according to a statement by the transitional government read on state television. A Guinean Foreign Affairs document indicates that it was the authorities in Conakry who asked for his return following the broadcast in March of a recording attributed to the former head of state from the Emirates. The recording spoke of the need for Mr. Conde's party to get into battle in anticipation of a serious deterioration in Guinea. For the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, these actions constitute a threat to the peace and stability of Guinea and violate the terms of a commitment by ECOWAS to guarantee the former president. Meanwhile, a coalition that has fought Conde for months has now urged the ruling junta to immediately open the trial of the former head of state after his return from abroad. This collective has orchestrated months of mobilization in 2019-2020 against the third term of Alpha Conde. The protest, which was brutally expressed several times, left dozens of civilians dead, but did not prevent the re-inauguration of Alpha Conde in December 2020. And then we head over. I think we're done with the ZUMA case. We end our broadcast from further fields, and this time in Pakistan. And Pakistan's parliament will select a new prime minister today after Imran Khan was ousted in a no-confidence vote in the early hours on Sunday. Shahbaz Sharif, the leader of an opposition coalition who worked to depose Mr. Khan, is widely expected to win a majority of the votes. The parliament is due to vote around 2 local time, and Mr. Khan, 69 years old, was voted out after days of political drama and Supreme Court intervention. He had attempted to block a previous attempt to bring a no-confidence motion against him by dissolving parliament and calling for a snap election. However, the country's Supreme Court upheld an opposition petition that his actions were unconstitutional and ordered the no-confidence vote to go ahead. Mr. Sharif, 70 years old, served as a chief minister of Punjab, Pakistan's most populous province, prior to Imran Khan coming to power in 2018. Mr. Sharif, who leads the Pakistani Muslim League Nawaz PMLN, had a reputation of efficiency and being hardworking, and is credited with making significant infrastructure improvements. Okay, so that is the latest from the continent and indeed from further afield. I guess Mr. Imran Khan, if you know him, because I followed him from the days where he was a cricket star. You know, cricket stars in Pakistan and India, they're literally demigods and how people worship him. So I think it's because of that, and how much he was the captain of the cricket team for Pakistan and how much he led the country into having a lot of wins, and maybe that might have contributed to the favor he found with the electorate, and for him to have been allowed to the opportunity to be the Prime Minister of Pakistan. But I guess politics is not sports. Politics, he discovered as soon as he settled into that political seat, that politics is not sports. You can be a winner and win more medals in the field, but when it comes to politics, you require a totally different skin, and it's a different ball game altogether. So now he's been of course, a vote of no confidence. Earlier on Sunday, was voted against him in Parliament. So now Shehbaz Sharif, as I've said there earlier, the leader of an opposition coalition who worked to depose Mr. Khan, is most likely to be given this position. So the Parliament there is voting. So let's wait and see how that will play out there, and if at all Mr. Sharif will take over from Karim Khan. Not Karim Khan, Imran Khan. I apologize for that. All right, so what else is happening? All right, so this anti-immigration movement, this group called Operation Dudula, that has been launched in Durban, the leader of this operation was arrested. This movement was arrested a couple of days ago and then released a day later after his supporters went to protest within the the police station, and they're calling for his release. So this organization basically is an anti-immigrant organization in South Africa, and by anti-immigrant, they're saying they're against specifically Africans who go to South Africa to work, and they're saying these Africans are taking up their jobs and the few opportunities available for them there, and so they found a need, to set up this organization. Can you imagine if, wherever you come from, if you're watching me from Africa, and you decided to create an anti-immigrant, movement to chase out any other African residing in your country, be it legally or not? Do you know how many people will? Because I know here in Kenya, we host a lot of other African nationals. A lot of them, legally, not legal, they are here, and we host them. The same case when you go to Tanzania, Uganda, Zimbabwe, like all countries here. And for us, an African person to think another African person in their country is termed so much so a foreigner. And it's even more disturbing that they're doing this to fellow Africans. I'm not saying if they did it to other races, it will make it better. No, I think it's not good. It's not a good movement. But the fact that they can't, this movement is primarily been formed to attack, to refuse opportunity to other fellow Africans in South Africa, the same Africans who fought with them, who stood with them during the days of apartheid. If you go through the history of that country and see how many of the leaders in South Africa and the comrades, as they like to call them, who had other passports from other African countries, and how much agitation and support they got from other African countries, and to think that today, living in South Africa, if you're from other African countries, your life itself is at risk, that is just mind-boggling, to me. And while we've been looking, this matter, because we've seen how those, how the situations have happened in the past, and how many people have died, during some of these, violent, episodes that we've seen, the anti-immigrant violent, episodes, there, xenophobic attacks that we've seen in South Africa. I think it's very disturbing. And I've always said that there's something wrong with the psyche of majority of the blacks in South Africa. I don't know if it's because of the years of oppression that they went through during the apartheid period. And a lot of young people who are growing right now or who are carrying out this these attacks, or who don't have these opportunities. I don't know if they've been able to heal from those days where they were being oppressed and, you know, in their own country by people they considered foreigners who were not even black. And so that violence, they're projecting and meting it on other. I've never understood why is it they have specific problem with other Africans while there's so many other races in South Africa. There's so many other Indians who own shops and do businesses in South Africa. There's so many other white people. There's so many other races from across the globe who are present and have set up shops and are employing other South Africans and other people in South Africa. But the fact that they choose to have a problem with their fellow Africans, this is the kind of science that I don't understand, if at all it's science even. I just don't get it. And they even go further and form an organization that is anti-immigrant and anti-African, and you are Africans. What is that? I think these people need therapy. And if they feel that other Africans are in that country and are taking their opportunities, I think there are better ways to address it. There are better ways to bring that to the Ministry of Industries and Labor and all. I think there are better ways and better policies that the government can put in place to ensure there's a balance. Imagine you're a refugee from Zimbabwe. You're running around, or you've been away for a very long time because of what has been happening, or you're a refugee from Mozambique, the northern part, Cabo Delgado, that right now has been riddled with the issue of insecurity and Al-Shabaab in that region, and you find safe haven in another African country, and that will be, South Africa, and you're not even safe there. I think it's not fair, and if the rest of the Africa should decide to respond in kind, that will not be very nice, because South African businesses are all over the place. We have Mr. Price here in Kenya. We have Mr. Price across the other countries in Africa. We have other businesses in South Africa that have set up shop. And when I go to Mr. Price, say here, I don't think about I'm happy to go because it's an African store. It's one of us. That's how I look at it. And if I want a good pair of jeans or whatever it is, I know I can find it there. But I'm happy to be supporting an Africa business, the same way I'd walk in a Kenyan store and buy it. Plus, Mr. Price has provided for job opportunities for our young, men and women here in the country. So why not support them? But this thing with South Africans, I think there's more to this. The country has not healed. This group of young people who, a lot of them, from what I hear, don't even if those opportunities were left to them, they will not even strap up their boots and wake up early and go work. They don't want to work. These people you see protesting and still chanting as if South Africa is still under apartheid, their mind has not woken to the reality that you must work hard. You must go seek for these opportunities. Someone will not come knocking at your door to tell you, hey, that shop there needs a cashier, that shop there needs an attendant, or things like that. So these other immigrants that go to South Africa from other African countries, they don't mind even taking up the dirty jobs and they work their way through, they set their shops, they're able to make it. While the locals, especially those who are complaining, I hear they just wake up and they're out there, they call it what? Something newer. They like the barbecuing and all that. So they don't work really hard. So I think it's unfair. And the government of South Africa must start treating this with the seriousness that it deserves. Because if the rest of us were to respond in kind, as I said, it is not going to be for the best interest of this continent and of South Africans, period. So I think this nonsense has to stop. We have African immigrants in every African country. Here we host refugees even from South Sudan. We have so many of them from Somalia. We have others from Rwanda who left there after the genocide and have never gone back. And we have every day we have new ones even coming. And when you go to the CBD, they're the ones in charge of the nail parlors, the beauty parlors and all that. And nobody is bothering them. because that is who we are. That is where we get our humanity, the Ubuntu that we have as a people in the continent. So it is sad. It is very, very sad that this is happening in South Africa. And when you look, when you reflect on the previous incidents of, of xenophobia, I think this is something that the government needs to address. Operation Dudula, to flush out anti-immigrants, the immigrants in South Africa. And by immigrants, they mean other Africans. They really don't have a problem with other white people, other Indians, name other races that have gone to South Africa for the same reason, but they particularly have a problem with people, their skin color. What is that? Like, what is really going on in South Africa? It's very worrying. So I'm just hoping that the government will address this matter as soon as possible so that we do not see those ugly incidences that, like we've seen in the past, where people have lost their businesses. Somebody has from Zimbabwe have lived in South Africa for the last 30 years. They've worked so hard, to be where they are, to own that shop that they have, and then somebody just somewhere wakes up one morning and goes there and raises everything down, the use of fire. I think that is unacceptable, and loses their lives in the process. That is unacceptable. This is something that South African government, President Cyril Ramaphosa, this is something that your administration must address, must take into account. What is it that is going on with the young people in that country? The issues, I know corruption is rampant, especially the ANC leadership, which has been the first black, party after it took over. It has only been, the African National Congress, that is ANC. And the leadership in ANC has been accused of mega corruptions that has stole opportunities from these young people in South Africa, that has created, the financial mess and other things that are happening in South Africa. So those are things that the government must look at and see what is it that we're not doing, or we are doing as a country and as a leadership that is making these people do what they're doing, and how is our response to this problem that these young people keep thinking it's okay even to form an organization of anti-immigrant, anti-black organization, anti-African organization, while they're Africans themselves. That is a country that needs a serious reconcilement with itself, because I think South Africans, at this point, I think it's sad. It's very sad. As an African, it's very sad to see that. Yeah, it's very sad. So they even have other branches of this organization. So you can imagine, so now if you're, whatever you are, even if you have some money to spend in South Africa and you want to go for holiday, now you even have to think about it. Are you going to be safe? They can hijack you in the middle of the street. They can stop you. And if you can't speak Zulu or Xhosa or whatever other language, your life could be in danger. This is what it can come to if things are not really, brought under control. Another thing that needs to be brought under control is the security situation in Nigeria. I know I talk about this here every day. So what really baffles me is now the Vice President Osinbajo, right? That's his name. He's saying he has declared his intention to contest in next year's presidential election. And of course, he hopes to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari, whose tenure comes to an end next year in May. So what baffles me, in a short video that he posted online, he promised to continue in improving security. You can't improve on something that is almost non-existent. You only improve on something that the wheels haven't set rolling. So you just pick from what this person is doing, that is the current president, and then you continue making it better because it is something that he has started. And, when I was reading this bulletin just a while ago, I asked, is Osinbajo living in Nigeria? And he wants to continue improving the security, meaning that he feels as though President Buhari has been doing something in relation to addressing the issue of security in Nigeria and prioritizing the economy, infrastructure, fighting poverty, and reforming the justice system. He has also praised his boss as a true Nigerian patriot and a servant of the nation. He said their administration has done well for Nigerians on this. I wish he had mentioned any other thing that the Nigerian government has done, and he can stand and be proud that they have achieved, him together with his boss, President Buhari, and say, this is what we've done, and should you elect me, this is how much I will do. But for him to stand there, owing to all this matter, even as we read that, there was a gang raid, in several villages in Plateau State over the weekend, right? Where now over 130 people have lost their lives. And this is something that has become of the norm in the northern part of Nigeria. So this Vice President Osinbajo comes now to say that his boss is a patriot and, of course, a servant of the nation. And he said their administration together have done well for Nigerians on the security front, despite facing some of the most difficult times in the country's history. Sure, clearly, the Vice President does not reside in Nigeria. He doesn't reside in Nigeria, or he does not watch the news. So he does not know what is happening in Nigeria as far as security or lack thereof is concerned. Otherwise, he will not have the audacity to make that video and post it online and tell Nigerians, look, this is why you should elect me. We've done so well. Despite of the challenges, we've done so well in addressing the security situation in Nigeria, because we know that has been a dismal, that has been a failure, that has exposed the government's incompetence and its role in protection of its people. President Buhari and his administration, together with this deputy president, have failed. So if that is the blueprint, if that is what he's pointing as the reason why he should be elected, then Nigerians maybe now have a good reason not to elect him. Because if that is how he's going to handle the security, then there's no hope in that country. Remember, President Buhari, together with his deputy, they promised when they come to power, 100 days of their leadership, Boko Haram will be something of the past. What has happened? The opposite now is true. Boko Haram has become more stronger. Boko Haram is thriving, and now it has mutated to other militant groups, and now they're attacking trains, and now they're attacking villages, and they're doing it with such level of impunity that has not even been seen anywhere in this continent. And then now the Vice President is telling us, hey, they've done so well on security front, despite, the difficult times the country is facing. The country is facing difficult times in matter of security because your government has done nothing, Mr. Vice President, because your government's response. And I know the issue of extremism is not a unique problem to Nigeria in the continent. We deal with our own insecurity here. Remember the Al-Shabaab from Somalia? But the government of Kenya has upped its security apparatus, its intelligence. And as much as there's a bit of a challenge here and there, but it is trying to match, its response with the new emerging trends and ways in which these groups operate and other countries from across the continent. This is not just a unique problem to Nigeria. So many other countries in the Sahel region, in other parts, are dealing with the same issues. But the difference is how these different leaderships respond to this problem. And the response from President Buhari, I can't even begin to tell you. And so if that is how, that is where his vice president banks to be his talking point and to be his selling point on why he should be elected, that would be a good reason for me not to vote for such a person. What has he done? Can he tell Nigerians what has been his contribution as a vice president in addressing? I know President Buhari is the commander-in-chief, but he is part of the government. What has been his response? What are some of the policies he has proposed and taken to Parliament and made into bill and all that in response to the insecurity issues in Nigeria, right? Even as these gangs went to a village and killed so many people yesterday, in Plateau State and other areas across Nigeria. I think it's very sad. And I don't know, but I don't have a vote in Nigeria, so the rest of you will have to make that decision, okay? But if I had a vote, that would be enough reason for me not to even want this person to lead me, because he is in a position right now to address some of these issues. Perhaps you would demand to know what is it that he has been able to do in his position, okay? All right. Thank you so much, Charles Muunga. Good luck, Sinwoke, and who else? Innocent Chigbu and the rest of you. Thank you so much for taking your time to hang out with me this afternoon. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Ogutu. I'll see you here back tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye for now.